kick off an age of conquest where China's eventual attack on Taiwan would be less strongly opposed by the international community. So many people are wondering, why isn't China acting like they're all in? Xi Jinping talks a big game about supporting Russia, but has been hesitant in one major area. It has not supplied Russia with lethal aid, aka weapons, and this is an area where Russia is in dire need. There might be a couple of reasons for this, with the most obvious being that China fears secondary sanctions from the West. Unlike Russia, China has massive ties to the United States in just about every sector, especially technology. And if it's hit with sanctions because of its involvement in the war in Ukraine, it could both devastate the country's economy and cut it off from valuable resources. But there might be one even bigger factor. Right now, Russia looks like a loser, and China isn't in the business of doing business with losers. China was probably ready to supply Russia with what it needed in the early days of the war, but as soon as an attempt to conquer Kiev failed and NATO rallied, China backed off. That means, ironically, the more Russia needs weapons, the less likely they are to get them. China's probably waiting for evidence that Russia can win the war before they get any more involved in the conflict, because the consequences of backing a failed war could be bigger than the benefits of backing a successful one. Which means that Russia has some heavy lifting to do if it wants to dream about a grand victory parade in Moscow. For one thing, it'll need allies, with China at the top of that list. In order to win, Russia would need to destabilize the Kiev government, and that means it'll need to get a lot closer to the capital than it is now. Russia doesn't have the weapons for a massive offensive right now, and only China can likely provide them. So it might be able to coax China into taking the risk if it can show them a concrete plan, and that plan would likely start with two Eastern European countries. The first would be Belarus, where dictator Alexander Lukashenko is deep in debt to Putin. While Lukashenko's military is weak and wouldn't be of much help even if they helped in Ukraine, Putin would likely settle for access to the border to launch an offensive toward Kyiv from the north. But Ukraine has fended that off before, so another base is needed. Moldova is a small country that doesn't even border Russia, instead being sandwiched between Ukraine and Romania. But it might be the next flashpoint in Russia's expansionism. That's because Russia has sponsored a Russian separatist movement in the country's east, in a region called Transnistria. This slit of land borders Ukraine's south, and while Russia is using it to destabilize Moldova's pro-Western government, it might be more interested in the battalion of armed Russian troops stationed there, ostensibly to protect the pro-Russian population. That army could be used to launch a sneak attack on Ukraine, bringing Russian forces close to Kyiv from two directions. But would it be enough? The truth is, it's possible, but unlikely. Putin would need absolutely everything to go right. First, he would have to get a near-blank check from China for weapons. Then, the dual attack from Belarus and Moldova would have to be incredibly successful and effective to take Ukraine